TARGA Tasmania is the ultimate test of man and machine, pitted against some of the world's most spectacular but unyielding roads. 6 days, 2,000 kilometres, snaking through Australia's majestic island state. For motoring enthusiasts, it's a proposition too tempting to overlook. Drivers are lured from around the globe, some fueled by the burning desire to win, others simply by the journey itself. This is a race without peer. This is TARGA Tasmania, the ultimate tarmac rally. Tasmania, a small island off the southeastern tip of Australia. Population 500,000. Famous for fine food and wine, and increasingly the rally to which it lends its name. Day one starts and finishes in Launceston. In between, a loop to the north coastal city of Devonport. Day two, and the field heads east, then south to Hobart. 9 of the most challenging competitive stages lie in wait. The shortest journey is day 3, Hobart and back via Huonville, but far from a day of rest, 7 TARGA stages bunched close together give little respite. Day 4 is crucial, from Hobart to Burnie in the state's northwest. It is here the contenders in each class will find out what they must do to achieve their goals in TARGA Tasmania. Day 5 is a fitting finale to an epic event. It's the longest day, a make-or-break run through the rugged west coast. 3 days prior to the start, overseas and interstate competitors are ushered aboard the Spirit of Tasmania, momentum building as the TARGA juggernaut gains speed.
Yeah, this will be one of the biggest years ever. We're particularly pleased this year by the number of international competitors in the event. We've got 12 different countries represented this year. That's the most we've ever had, which of course is exactly what TARGA Tasmania is setting out to achieve for the Tasmanian economy and to promote Tasmanian tourism internationally.
The morning of the official start at Launceston's Country Club Casino dawned crisp and cloudless. A sight to warm the heart of those travelling in open-topped cars.
A multi-million-dollar mobile motor show is back in action.
As the field files away from the start, the 207 competitors are each mindful that to win, first you must finish. TARGA is unmercifully hard on cars, and there are no prizes for retiring on day 0. The Georgetown Temco Prologue sees the first wheel turn in anger. 4.5 kilometres of street crawling, it settles the pecking order and loosens the nerves. It's the first test for car, driver and navigator. An opportunity to see who might be the one to watch. For some, a chance to evaluate performance before the rally begins. For others, a crash course in getting to know your limits. In the Shannon's historic competition, the 1930 Invicta S-Type of Martin Utber and Nick Longford led the way, recording a time of 4 minutes 36 seconds. 11 seconds off the pace, Tasmanian Lee Mundy, in charge of the magnificent 1926 Chrysler Vanden Plas. The competition's flag car, owned and driven by Victorian John Lawson, 1 second further back. In the classic competition, the 1972 Porsche of South Australians Bernie Stack and John Smith emerging fastest from 127 other classic entrants.
I was expecting it to be a bit better than what it was, but I had made a few blues and the tyres were a bit softer than I thought, but we were pretty happy to win our class.
The lure of TARGA Tasmania is undeniable. Throughout its history, TARGA has cast its spell over even the most celebrated of champions. 1999 is no exception.
I had this great appetite for cars, but I also loved playing footy and stuff like that. But it was interesting that cars finally got me, and from that point onwards, I said, I've got to get out on that track.
Brakes are just getting bedded in. Very nice.
As long as the purple Falcon doesn't pass him, he's got to 500.
Certainly winning Bathurst the first time in '72 was a turning point in my life. Not only did the media and the perhaps the sponsors or those that were involved in the as officials in the sport view me a little differently, but I viewed myself a bit differently.
After rising to the very peak of motorsport in Australia, Peter Brock now turns his attention to TARGA Tasmania, teamed with son James in the car he made famous, a 1973 Tirana XU1, which James lovingly built from the ground up.
Averaging about 9-10 hours a day, so lots of hours, most of my life.
The scene set for a fairy tale 5 days for the Brocks.
I mean, I've done some rallies. This is James' first competition event, actually, isn't it?
Inside the car, yeah.
I think that we're going in there knowing that it's going to be a bit of a learning curve for a couple of days, but it'll be a lot of fun. And look, it's the sort of event that I don't think you rush at it. I think you go in there and, you've got to accept the fact that 6 days and a bit like Bathurst, you don't win it on the first lap.
Georgetown was the Tirana's first race experience. The Brocks recorded a time of 3 minutes 32.7 seconds, enough to grab 5th position in the classic competition. The first chance also for Brock to give the crowd what they wanted.
Yeah, but why not? I could feel going down there, I thought, I reckon that wheel's in there. Beauty, because people love seeing a bit of spectacular stuff.
Carrying the weight of outright favouritism in the modern competition for '99, 2 times Australian production car champion Peter Fitzgerald.
I've always been competitive, and I've got to say, surviving in motorsport's the toughest thing I've ever had to do. I'm probably one of the only drivers that's survived that hasn't been a V8 driver. And I've done it by concentrating on the area where we've sort of done well, which is production car racing.
This beautiful trophy going their way. Hold it up, Peter and Michael, we can all see it.
Peter Fitzgerald has felt both the glory and disappointment that TARGA Tasmania can bring. In 1997, his Porsche 968 Turbo RS failing to finish.
968 RS Turbo overheated on Safana.
Looks like we're blowing a head gasket again.
In 1998, driving the German Porsche Museum's 356B, things were a little different.
Oh, that was ace. We caught a Ford Falcon GT then in this little bugger and passed it, so it was really good fun, yeah.
Teamed with German Michael Peterson, Fitzgerald won the classic competition, outperforming cars decades younger. In '99, a new challenge.
We've got to be there at the end, so to finish first you must finish.
Fitzgerald will try and live up to pre-event expectations and favouritism in the modern competition. Fitzgerald's prologue time, 3 minutes 20.8 seconds, second fastest.
I really expected to be a good 5 seconds faster than that. However, we had a problem with it, kept jumping out of second gear during the whole stage. So, given that most of the corners are second gear corner, that was a bit of a nuisance. I mean, in the end, I was holding it in second and steering it around the corner with one hand. So, a bit of a handful. And with the amount of pressure I've been copping since I got here about winning this event, it would have been nice to have put some runs on the board today. But we know we had a problem, and basically we'll just have to go out and prove it in the rally.
Reigning Targa champions Jim Richards and Barry Oliver recording an identical time. The honour of being fastest through the Georgetown street circuit went to the Nissan GTR of Warwick Fremantle and Nick Watchhorn. Their lightning lap proving the modern competition wasn't to be all one-way traffic.
Crossroad, wide entry, turn 3 left. Long dip, keep 6 left, 300, watch the island. Turn 3 right, turn 3 left, for the air. Turn narrow, turn right. Kick, left, right. Don't cut, turn 5 left. This is it. Press straight, 100, turn 3 right.
Big push because the compression is pretty frantic in this car. A lovely 1938 car which was found.
Day 1 and the start of Targa proper. Cars flagged away from Launceston's Central Mall.
You know, the pulse is up a bit, and once we get out on the road, it'll be good.
And we're just going to take it easy and get there and be there at the end for that gold plate.
In fact, we like to ensure we have a better year this year.
Oh, we haven't read the book, no, we just follow him.
All cylinders of power.
Targa Tasmania is broken into 3 separate competitions: Modern, Classic and Shannon's Historic. The separate divisions designed to provide compelling competition for the enormous variety of vehicles the road rally attracts. The Shannon's Historic competition is open to cars built prior to 1947. The flag car for 1999, the magnificent 1938 Alfa Romeo Mille Miglia Spider, one of the dominant sports cars of its era.
It's the first time it's ran since 1951 in a speed event. It came from the Argentine. I bought it in the Argentine 10 years ago. Oh, this is the type of event that you want to run this car in. It's ideal for it.
For more genteel tastes, Ian Roberts' 46 Mark IV Jaguar, the big cat having its first run since an extensive restoration. Not everything went according to plan for the Roberts entry. An engine fire just days prior to the start almost put paid to their chances. However, in the best Targa tradition, the crew worked around the clock. The Jaguar would take its place in the field, amazingly looking none the worse for wear. For Targa rookie Ian Roberts, piloting his gleaming museum piece, more about style than pace.
Because the car weighs 2.5 tonnes and the steering wheel is like this, and so you feel every bump in the road, and some of the roads have tram lines in them where they reseal the road, and when you get on a tram line it's like skiing behind a ski boat. You know, you're skiing along quite nicely on the flat, and then you go over the wake and you do an S, and that's a bit like driving the Jaguar.
The Classic competition is open to vehicles built up to 1981 and contains the bulk of the field. Under the Classic heading there are 6 categories. The result is cars of varying age and performance competing on a level playing field. The Classic competition embodies the true spirit of Targa. Thanks to the handicapping system, cars as diverse as Henry Draper's tiny Morris Mini have a chance of beating far more powerful cars. The Modern competition pits the world's most sophisticated road cars head to head. Honda and more recently Porsche have dominated this category. But there is no set formula for success. Some teams putting their faith in brute horsepower, like Craig Dean's 98 Saleen Mustang. Others, like Paul Stokell in the Lotus Elise, relying more on handling and finesse. The first full day of competition is the compact loop. The start in central Launceston, then on to Devonport and return. The round trip is 326 kilometres. Along the way, there are 9 competitive Targa stages. Lagana is the first of these, and the last through the streets of the famous racing town of Longford, home of the Australian Grand Prix in a bygone era. Day 1 sets the scene and provides a relatively gentle introduction to Targa. A constant companion for crews, postcard scenery like nowhere on earth. Roads carved in the living landscape of Tasmania's rustic heart. The earthy tones of autumn, a striking contrast to glistening paint and mirror chrome. TARGA Tasmania, like all true rallies, is comprised of a series of competitive stages. Organisers set a base time for each Targa stage, and if a competitor completes the stage under the base time, it's known as cleaning the stage. Base times are achievable on some stages, unachievable on others. The crew that gets closest to the base times on each of the 43 competitive Targa stages wins the event. Knowing where and when to press on is the key to Targa victory. Lagana is the first Targa stage. As the cars are counted away, the tension builds. No one keen to suffer the indignity of being the first to crash out. The Moriarty stage is a fast and flowing run through open farming country. A chance to stretch the car's legs. It also provided the first of many anxious moments in Targa 99.
Let's go, come on, let's go, come on, come on.
For the past 3 years, the combination of Jim Richards and Barry Oliver in a four-wheel drive Porsche Turbo has proven unbeatable in Targa. In 96, 97 and 98, no one could even come close to the pair's performance.
And I'm sure you would like to have
In the modern competition, the times they've set have become the benchmarks for all others to measure up to. This year, the pair would only compete on the Prologue and Day 1. Conflicting commitments forcing them elsewhere. A bitter disappointment for the pair, as both regard Targa Tasmania as the highlight of their racing calendar.
I mean, I enjoy the event so much that I thought any excuse or chance to do a day or half a day, I was going to take it. So Porsche were kind enough to lend us a car, and so here we are. It was great.
With the prospect of victory taken from them, the normally clinical Richards driving style was replaced by a more exuberant one. Scant regard given to tyre wear. A rare chance to see a modern supercar driven as its makers had hoped. The car giving away nothing in performance, neither in luxury. The Carrera 4 fully loaded, right down to the 10-speaker stereo system.
There was some discussion over breakfast this morning as to which CDs we'd use, and the first couple I suggested got knocked on the head, so we'll come up with something anyway.
Their winning car for the last 3 years had been bought by Gant clothing boss Michael Mansour. With Peter Fitzgerald at the wheel and Mansour navigating, the red Carrera would, for the 4th year running, be the car to beat in the modern competition. Fitzgerald commissioned with the task of living up to the results of the previous owner, knowing full well that comparisons between Richards and himself will be made while he's behind the wheel. The afternoon of day one, and the roads are beginning to take their toll. The Sheffield stage catching out Greg Haysom in his 77 Toyota Celica GT. Despite some front-end damage, the Celica would go on. Gary Quigley in the big XWGT Falcon also striking trouble at Sheffield.
I've always liked it when you get out there and you're saying, right, here's the elements. Every person out there is really faced with the same sort of choices. This is going to be difficult. This is going to be a whole new way of thinking. If you make a blue, well, it's up to you.
No driver error, but the Brock charge was slowed by mechanical trouble. A clutch problem costing the father and son team valuable seconds. A less than ideal start for the pair running in their first Targa. Rallying is a team sport, and while the drivers receive much of the credit, the role of the navigator in TARGA Tasmania is vital. Each of the thousands of corners are graded and called for the driver. Get one wrong, and at best it will cost valuable seconds, at worst a great deal more. The chemistry and communication between driver and navigator is nowhere better displayed than in the cockpit of car 907, the Lexus IS 200 in the hands of three-times Australian rally champions Neil Bates and Coral Taylor.
Into long left, 4.5 opens. Then right, 4.5 kick. Into long left, 4.5.
The day one finale, 3.5 kilometres around the streets of Longford, the town made famous in the 50s and 60s as the home of the Australian Grand Prix. The Targa stage briefly returning the historic hamlet to its halcyon days.
Go. 50, turn right 3. Then turn left 2.5. Turn left 2 at T, immediate right 3.5. Then turn left 3, hard to see. Then turn left 2.5, 30. Turn hard right, 2.5. Then turn right 3.5 at T. Then straight on at Crossroads. 50, turn right 3.
Longford, adored by competitor and spectator alike.
2:44. I love Longford. That was a beautiful run. Wow. Wasn't that nice? Wasn't the road surface nice?
Leading the way after day one in the Shannon's historic competition, Martin Utber and Nick Langford in the S-Type Invicta, ahead of John Lawson's Alfa Romeo and the 1926 Chrysler Vanden Plas of Lee Mundy and Guy Dunstan. In his first day of Targa competition, Ian Roberts had his Jaguar in fifth. The classic competition shaping as a titanic struggle. The Mustang of Scott Kent locked in a tie for the lead with Robert White's Sunbeam Tiger. That pair just 5 seconds ahead of Mike Batten's Volvo and the Porsche of Paul Stewart. Peter and James Brock still well in contention. A familiar sight at the top of the modern leaderboard. Jim Richards and Barry Oliver leaving Targa 99 as they came in, on top. The real battle between Peter Fitzgerald and Warwick Fremantle. Nothing separating the pair after day one. Neil Bates making good his promise to put the Lexus in the top 10. Sunrise day 2. And the often maligned Tasmanian weather still on its best behaviour. A perfect day, perfect roads, motoring nirvana. For those making their first attempt at Targa Tasmania, like Ian Roberts in the 46 Jaguar, the excitement is difficult to contain. The troubles of only a few days ago seem a distant memory.
They are, but it's really good. We're thoroughly enjoying it. I should have done it years ago. But unfortunately, when we got to the car this morning, it had a flat tyre in the front left-hand corner, so I hope it stays up till lunchtime and we'll change it.
Tasmania's east coast is the state's crowning glory. High forest country gives way to stretches of brilliant white sand and the rich crystal waters of the Tasman Sea. Wineglass Bay on the Freycinet Peninsula, widely regarded to be among the world's top 10 beaches. Day 2 carries the field from Launceston through the narrow winding mountain passes of the state's northeast. It is then south to the Tasmanian capital Hobart, a distance of 445 kilometres. The 9 Targa stages are marked by contrast, from the succession of hairpins on the Sideling to the fast open run of Cranbrook. These are the roads that built the legend of Targa Tasmania. The cars file in for the first stage. The morning begins with a short, sharp burst around Launceston's outskirts. Day 2 gets more competitive and more challenging. One stage stands out as being a favourite for many competitors.
The Sideling? The Sideling was great.
Sideling.
Sideling.
the speedo as we were going across the top, and I think he said it was just above 240 kilometres an hour, and I thought, well, it's fast enough for me. And then it's a nice run down the other side. You're sort of just flicking back the little switchbacks all the way. It's good fun.
Narrow and winding, the sidling is often damp. For Guy Beddington and Peter Svensson in the stunning Ultima Coupe, the sidling was very nearly their final Targa stage.
No, we're right. It sticks right off.
Making its Southern Hemisphere competition debut, the race-bred Ultima is a serious contender in the modern competition. Although it lacks the four-wheel drive of the Porsches, it's compensated by a well-proven suspension setup and massive power-to-weight ratio, thanks to the mid-mounted 5-litre Ford V8. It is also one of the most spectacular-looking cars ever to enter the event.
It's not a hard car to drive. You have to respect a car, obviously, with this kind of performance. But after 7 or 8 years of development in the UK with the chassis, it really shows in an event like this where a car has to be well sorted to handle all the different road conditions. But it is easy to drive. Yes, the car has the potential of winning. Whether, in fact, we win or not, I think we have to wait and see.
The logistics of running an event like TARGA Tasmania are enormous. In terms of officials, TARGA is easily the biggest motorsport event in the country. Almost 3,000 volunteers give up their time, marshalling cars and spectators as the mobile motor show winds its way around the state. While roadside officials make up the bulk of the numbers, specialised first intervention crews comprised of professional firefighters and paramedics are stationed on each Targa stage and are only moments away in the event of a serious accident. The other unsung heroes of Targa are the spectators. They turn out in their droves in all kinds of weather to the most unlikely vantage points to cheer on competitors. They are the ones who bring Targa to life. For Peter Brock, this trip to Tasmania serves a dual role. Firstly, to compete. Secondly, to farewell the legion of fans who followed his career. The ever-obliging racer signing hundreds of autographs wherever the car came to a standstill. Although out of racing for more than a year, it seems no one has forgotten Brocky. Day one's clutch problem was rectified in just minutes. Though it was nothing serious, the problem made the climb to the top of the classic competition that much harder. The pair needing to put behind them the worries of the first day. The tough stages ahead would not allow for anything else to go wrong.
We had a couple of little glitches, but nothing horrendous. So today, we're looking forward to it.
The morning of day 2 has no less than 4 mountain pass stages. Each demand concentration and respect. The tight, twisty conditions are ideally suited to the newly launched Lexus IS 200. What the Lexus gives away in power is compensated under brakes and through corners. Neil Bates and Coral Taylor determined to keep the car in the top 10. The Lexus entry's all something of a family affair. The second Lexus driven by Neil's twin brother Rick Bates. The 1998 Australian Formula 2 Rally champion is having his first try at TARGA Tasmania.
Yeah, we're having great fun. Ellie's obviously hasn't navigated before. We're not using pay states, we're using the route chart. She's really starting to get the hang of it, and we're having a really good time. But the car's been great, and we're really enjoying the event.
His navigator is TV motorsport journalist Alison Drower, getting her first taste of rally conditions. By the end of the event, the pair would thrust their stock standard Lexus to 21st place. (1999's TARGA Tasmania displaying again a mouth-watering array of motoring history. From the ageless style of Porsches from the 50s and 60s to the bulging biceps of Detroit's finest. Combining muscle with class, David Ogg and Adam Boyd in their 1969 Ferrari 365 GT. A 12-cylinder symphony. A collection of MGs. And the new era of Alfa Romeo. And of course, it wouldn't be TARGA Tasmania without the fleet of late model Porsches, like that of Gold Trophy hopeful Victorian Winston Kim. The afternoon of day 2 sees the cars snake their way down the east coast to Hobart. The TARGA stages are fast and open, a marked contrast to the morning. The tiny fishing port of Triabunna hosts the penultimate day 2 stage. The sounds of screaming engines and tortured tyres an annual hiccup in the otherwise tranquil surrounds. Things were going from bad to worse for Gary Quigley in the GT Falcon. After an off on day 1, the transmission failed in the final stage of day 2. Their chances of figuring in the final standings all but gone. Definitely out of the running, Chris Crowe and Tom Fletcher. Their Tirana SS 5000 would go no further. Craig Dean in the supercharged Saline Mustang also falling victim to an overzealous right foot.
It's got a lot of horsepower. It's not handling as best as we'd like, so we're having a lot of trouble with that at the moment, and that's what's really holding me back. So I'm backing off quite a lot at the moment, but the top speeds along straights is real good.
Positions remained unchanged in the Shannon's historic competition after day 2. Martin Utber had stretched his lead in the Invicta, a 4-minute buffer over John Lawson's Alpha and Lee Mundy's Chrysler. Things couldn't be tighter in the classic competition. The Austin Healey of Paul and Christine Freestone sharing the lead with Henry and Rosalind Draper's Mini. Robert White's Sunbeam Tiger holding 3rd. The XU1 of Brock and Brock just out of the top 10. The drive of the day came from Paul Stokell, taking the Lotus from 11th to 4th. The Nissan GTRs of Jeff Church and Warwick Fremantle in hot pursuit of Peter Fitzgerald's Porsche. The leaders not without their share of problems. The car that had performed faultlessly through 3 previous Targas had developed a serious gearbox complaint. Without a new one, the Fitzgerald-Mansour challenge was dead in the water.
Unfortunately, we've lost third gear. We lost that at lunchtime at Elephant Pass, so we've had to drive the rest of the day using second and fourth. The big challenge is you just don't know what's around the corner. You can take all the precautions under the sun.
The early hours of day 3 were not a restful time for the Fitzgerald crew. A replacement gearbox was found. The fact that it was in navigator Michael Mansour's other Porsche in Melbourne mattered little. Across Bass Strait, mechanics had dismantled Mansour's road car and put the gearbox on a plane to Launceston. It was then road freighted to Hobart and installed in the Targa car. A job that in normal circumstances could take a week, completed in hours. The final nut tightened in time to make the start of day 3. At the other end of the field, the problem's just as serious and the solutions just as difficult. Lee Mundy's 1926 Chrysler had destroyed its clutch, and as he was quick to point out, the car was out of the warranty period.
And there's no 1926 clutches on the shelf of Chrysler anymore.
Local Hobart machinists called on to manufacture a new clutch plate from scratch. Lee Mundy is a TARGA Tasmania veteran. However, this is his first shot in the historic competition. Accustomed to late-model Porsches in previous outings, his 1926 Chrysler Vanden Plas could not be more different.
It's a different type of driving. Yes, you plan your braking, have to get a run up to go up the hills. It boils a lot as a part of this primitive motor design. So we have to keep more water than up to the radiator than petrol in it.
The historic competition pays tribute to the automobiles of generations past. The raw desire of driver and car to endure the toughest tests is not lost during TARGA Tasmania.
We go in a lot of hill climbs, both here and in overseas. And this is like 1,000 hill climbs in one, this event. It's fantastic. And the uphill and down dale, the condition of the roads and that, they're ideal for this car. This car really suits it.
Day 3, and the historic cars are given a well-earned break from competition to take part in the Shannon's Concourse in Hobart's landmark Salamanca Place. The sandstone streetscape of Salamanca is one of Tasmania's most recognisable places. The hub of Hobart's waterfront since the early 1800s, its cobbled pavement lined with restaurants, cafes and taverns. The shining vintage cars a fitting ornament. The competition route for Day 3 takes the rest of the field on a 209-kilometre return loop out of Hobart. The shortest day, but one of the most intense. The 7 Targa stages are long and close together. The day starts with a hill climb on the city's outskirts. Competitors then travel south through the Channel and Huon valleys, the culmination the Ridgeway Park stage, one of Targa's most competitive legs. By day 3, pace setters are beginning to emerge. Those doing the chasing forced to press even harder. One car going faster than most expected, the Lotus Elise in the hands of up-and-coming Tasmanian driver Paul Stokell. With only a third of the power of the leading cars in the modern competition, Stokell wringing every inch of performance out of the sweet-handling Lotus.
But we're pushing the car pretty hard, you know, it's not really up to the speed of some of the bigger cars, and I'm just driving the proverbial out of it, really, and somehow or other we're keeping up with them, which is amazing myself.
As the pressure to perform increases, the temptation to explore the limits grows. In TARGA Tasmania, overstepping the boundary comes at a high price. Day 3 was hitting hard. Queenslanders Lindsay Rickson and Graham Dodd rearranging the front of their XJS Jaguar. The spectacular antics of Simon Klein in the Volvo coming to an abrupt halt, along with John Gilmore's Porsche 924. Rodney Edwards' Nissan GTR badly bent and out of the event. Likewise, the Alpha of Christopher Blandon. An unscheduled sightseeing stop for the Celica of Gary Hinton and Ray Bates, a wild ride through the Tasmanian wilderness. Anything you can do, we can do better. Ron Mankey's RX-7 snugly wedged between two trees, 20 metres from the road.
Fairly greasy on that corner and just came around straight over the bank. The only part is we didn't think it was going to stop going down the bank.
Not everyone was having trouble. Guy Beddington spurring the Ultima Coupe to the fastest time on the Woodbridge stage. The final Targa stage, Ridgeway Park. A late chance to make a run at the leaders. Travelling midfield, Anthony Alford and Carl Farmer in the Alpina BMW 323i caught up in the excitement.
Oh! Keep going, keep going. Keep going, that's it, keep it going. Well done, stop, good stop, keep it going. Right side, keep it going.
The big crowd at Ridgeway Park had come to see action, and they weren't disappointed. A standing ovation for Stephen and Jameel Taylor in the Alpha GTV 2000. Graham Copeland's Triumph TR7 V8 delivering the encore performance. At the top of the modern field, mechanical gremlins continued to plague the Porsche of Peter Fitzgerald and Michael Mansour.
One of the intercooler hose popped off, so we lost all boost, and it was all I could do to get it to the line. So where we would have naturally cleaned that stage, we dropped 24 seconds, which hurt us a bit. Then we went on to Woodbridge, and it wasn't performing too well there either, but we located the problem and fixed it.
Fitzgerald was still leading the modern competition, but the margin had been slashed. Warwick Fremantle's Nissan now only 6 seconds off the pace. The battle for third, wide open. 4 cars separated by only 20 seconds.
There's some nice stages coming up tomorrow. It's a long day. So we've just got to reassess our situation and try and press on and then have a good look at it tomorrow night.
A good day for Peter Brock in the classic competition. For the first time since the Prologue, the car was back in the top 10.
Each day we come back and we say, right, tomorrow let's just try changing the brake bias a little, or the springs or what have you, and each day just goes better and better. It's fantastic. It's really going very, very rapidly indeed these days. The brain box, Tirana, go. I'm just being a little bit careful on the starts, but everything else, flat out.
The drive of the day had come from Robert White in the Sunbeam Tiger, up from 3rd to 1st. In hot pursuit, the Mini of Draper and Draper, and Paul and Christine Freestone's Austin Healey.
Ja, es macht sehr viel Spaß und wir freuen uns heute auf den 3. Tag.
TARGA Tasmania's international reputation has continued to flourish. The 99 event attracting a record 19 international entries, their skill levels as varied as their countries of origin. German Michael Stokell, who works with Porsche creating the creature comforts that go into the luxurious automobiles, was drawn in by TARGA's infectious reputation.
I saw on the German television a report about this event. It was so fantastic. Then I asked Walter Röhrl. He was driving here 2 years ago. How did he like it? And he told me it was fantastic, and so we came.
Stokell is a TARGA rookie and also a member of a father and son team. Son Max, the co-driver. Countryman Rüdiger Ott in charge of the Porsche Museum 1957 356A. Keeping with the German theme, Klaus Bischoff taking over the Carrera 4 from Jim Richards at the end of day 1. French ace Bob Wallach boasts immaculate credentials, podium finishes in many of the world's famous long-distance events, including Le Mans, Sebring and Daytona.
It's a great pleasure for me to be here because I've been racing for more than over 30 years, and I've tried for 20 years to come and do some races here. I want to do pass rounds, didn't never work, so I'm very, very happy to be here, discover the country, which is beautiful, absolutely fantastic. The racing is going okay, but I'm in a different kind of racing, so this kind of car on this tiny twisty roads, I have very little experience. And when I started racing 30 years ago, I did some rally races for about 5 years. But the last one I did was 74, so I've get used to it again. But I have good fun, and we're a good team. The car is very well prepared, it's reliable and strong. It's obviously a Porsche.
A 7-time TARGA entrant, Japan's Wakuro Kobayashi. His spectacular and flamboyant style a favourite with crowds on every stage. His Nissan GTR rumoured to have as much as 900 horsepower. South African Chris Andrew for the 2nd year campaigning his immaculate Chevrolet Can-Am. Last year's Denny Hulme Award winner for overcoming adversity to finish, hoping for a smoother run in 1999.
Oh, this year's been a breeze, but let's see how it works out at the end. Hopefully we're not going to have any problems and we'll be fine.
Canada, the USA, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, all represented. Day 4, and a ghostly mist shrouds the landscape as the cars set out on the second longest and second last day of TARGA Tasmania 1999. The Midlands town of Ross lending its scenery to complete the picture. For Tracy Watts and Keith Brodie, Day 4 holds some ghosts of its own. In '98, their event ended on the Ross stage. the image of that fateful day still etched upon their memory.
It's surprising, you know, the thing you're going over and over and you're very aware of every moment.
In '99, the Ross stage completed in less dramatic style. 118 kilometres of hard driving over 9 Targa stages is the story of day 4. The field leaves Hobart and heads north to Ross. The afternoon sees cars head west to one of TARGA Tasmania's most infamous stages, Rihanna, regarded by many as the toughest of the event. The day finishes with a short street sprint in the city of Burnie, a total distance of 491 kilometres. A 7:30 start on the first stage gets the adrenaline pumping early. The 3-kilometre run around the Queen's Domain, close to the centre of Hobart, one of the best spectator stages. The Shannon's historic battle was becoming a race in two. Martin Utber and Nick Langford in the Invicta, fighting it out with the flag car, John Lawson's 38 Alfa Romeo. Ian Roberts in the Mark IV Jaguar had overcome his early troubles and was holding 5th position, more than fulfilling his pre-Targa expectations.
I just hope to complete each stage, probably not within time, but just to complete it and to enjoy it.
The classic competition was coming down to an all-British affair. At the head of the field, Robert White's Sunbeam, just seconds behind the 1961 Morris Mini of Henry and Rosalind Draper. Nothing had separated the cars over the first 3 days. Days 4 and 5 would settle the argument.
A classic battle, isn't it? You know, the 60s cars and 50s cars. That's the way it was then, so whoever did the handicaps got it going pretty good, I think.
When Michael Mansour from Gant approached me to run with him in this event, I said to him, he was actually looking at running another car, and I said, well, do you want to get serious and try and win this event, or do you want to just go down and have a bit of fun? And Mike is a naturally competitive person, and he said, oh, can we win it? And I said, well, sure we can if we get the right car.
Fitzgerald was getting what he came for, locked in an arm wrestle with the Nissan GTRs of Warwick Fremantle and Jeff Church. 6 seconds, all that separated first from second.
Something might break on either his car or my car, who knows? We'll just wait and see.
Outright victory is not the aim of every Targa competitor. Most are involved in battles within categories and classes. A Targa trophy is awarded to all entries who beat the trophy times on each stage. A gold Targa trophy is awarded to competitors who complete 3 successive events. In Targa Tasmania, the real challenge lies in making it to the finish.
Just the brakes went, Mark, they've gone.
The afternoon of day 4 has ended many challenges in the past. The fast undulating run of Sathana to the notorious Rihanna stage. These long and demanding stages are a serious test for crews and cars.
One, your way.
Targa Tasmania, like all forms of motorsport, contains an element of danger. Out of the car, all drivers are aware of the risks. The razor's edge between control and mayhem was becoming finer in the run to the finish. Even a 9-time Bathurst winner is not infallible. Brock would continue, others would not. In the heat of the moment, accidents happen. Tasmanians Norman Henry and Anthony Stoner, in an Alfa Romeo, pressed too hard. Both suffered fractures and facial injuries. TARGA's first intervention vehicles on the scene just moments after the crash. As a result of the accident, the Rihanna and Burnie TARGA stages downgraded to touring. The people of Burnie still turning out en masse to catch a glimpse of the cars as they filed round the streets. The sun setting on a long day. The morning would bring day 5 and the finish.
As far as I'm concerned, it's like getting up on stage and singing a song and saying, well, I'm not going to sing out of tune. I mean, I want to do it one way. That's the best way I can. So I'll just take the results as they come. I think finishing is probably my greatest aim for this year's TARGA.
Going into day 5, Peter and James Brock had dropped 1 place and were in 11th. Their chances of an outright classic competition win looked unlikely. The real battle was being fought between Robert White and Henry Draper, only 20 seconds separating the Sunbeam from the Mini. Mike Batten's Volvo back in the top 3.
I think you have to drive to stay ahead of the rest, and that's all you have to do.
I mean, you don't get any extra points or any extra prize for winning by 3 minutes or 4 minutes. As long as you win.
Fitzgerald and Mansour taking that philosophy to extremes, leading, but by only 26 seconds from the super consistent Fremantle-Watchorn combination in the Nissan GTR. 4 cars close enough to figure in the scramble for 3rd.
So Paul Stokell is always a threat. We're hoping for rain tomorrow for the four-wheel drive. Down the hills, he has us all over us down the hills. We don't have the brakes or the handling right on the limit that he would have. But up the hills and on the big long straights, fantastic. Yeah. So Aerosmith should be good. We should be able to get a bit of time back on in there. But on the tight stuff, you know, we don't really have any comparison. We are more than a ton heavier than he is with that car. So, but it's a big car.
Tasmania's west coast is a world apart, rugged and isolated. Mining towns and fishing villages dot the landscape. Their fortunes have ebbed and flowed for more than a century. From the tranquil beauty of Strawn on the banks of Macquarie Harbour to the industry-scarred cliffs of Queenstown, the pioneering spirit lives on. The ribbon of black that snakes its way through the wilderness, TARGA Tasmania's crown jewel. Hill climbs are a feature of rallies the world over. TARGA Tasmania boasts the mother of them all, the 99 bends out of Queenstown, up the naked face of Mount Lyell. Day 5, long and hard. The total distance is over 500 kilometres. The field leaves Burnie en route to Hobart via the west coast. Along the way, 9 TARGA stages. Most of them are long and the base times more difficult to achieve. The challenge of the morning stages only surpassed by those in the afternoon. The Mount Arrowsmith stage, 50 kilometres long, a race in itself. Day 5 delivers only a deserving few to the podium in Hobart. The early TARGA stages of Hellier Gorge and Mount Black set the scene for the day ahead. The roads tight and steep, overnight rain and added concern for drivers. With the rest of the pack in hot pursuit, Peter Fitzgerald was finding no comfort in his narrow lead. A long way still to travel.
We've been pretty full on all morning, trying to build that buffer up in case something occurs in the afternoon. I guess we've just got to keep pressing on.
Unless Fitzy has a problem, I'd say it's unlikely that we would catch him because his car's significantly quicker than ours. On stages like Arrowsmith, I'd expect him to have a sort of like a 280, 290 kilometre an hour top speed.
As Fitzgerald and Mansour set out for Hobart, every rattle and bang amplified tenfold. A week of mechanical trouble had left them with nagging doubts. The most successful car in Targa history asked for one final decisive effort. Peter and James Brock in the Tirana, the afternoon of day 5, the final chance to give the crowds what they wanted. A trademark Brock against the odds win. James had spent 5 months building the car, and the XU1 was relishing what day 5 had to offer.
We passed 2 cars in the last fast stage, and yeah, we passed an 89X and an NSX Honda, so and this 26-year-old car, so I don't know what the bloke in the NSX was thinking, but I told him to take it easy on it's the last day, we've just got to get back to Hobart.
The Mount Arrowsmith Targa stage is the longest in the event, rolling through Nelson Valley and Victoria Pass. Long straights and sweeping bends are interspersed with tighter sections. The faster cars reach speeds over 250 kilometres per hour. No place for the faint-hearted. Peter Brock's nerve as steady as ever. His foot flat to the boards, the speedo clocking over 200 as the Tirana hurtled towards the finish. Then the unthinkable happened. An innocent-looking bend on Mount Arrowsmith claimed the most celebrated name in Australian motorsport. Proof once and for all that Targa cares little for reputations.
We were going across there very quickly. I came in there, right-hander, thought I was looking pretty good. The road was damp just as I was turning in. It got damper and damper as the car started understeering, and I finished up out wide. Just went down this gutter on the left-hand side. Fortunately, didn't hit anything, no rocks or trees or whatever, but it certainly holed the radiator, and that was it, we're out of the event.
Fitzgerald had made it through unscathed. The finish now beckoned. Warwick Fremantle and Nick Watchhorn still chasing hard in the Nissan. The Lotus of Paul Stokell, snapping at the heels of the leaders. The final hurdles, Tarraleah, Ellendale and New Norfolk. Concentration at a premium as crews battle fatigue. In the classic competition, Robert White in the Sunbeam Tiger had put together another faultless day. The Mini of Henry and Rosalind Draper likewise clean and fast. The classic competition battle running down to the wire. Heartbreak for Gary Lansdell and John Sluice, their event ending just metres from the end of the final Targa stage. The Shannon's historic competition had taken some unexpected turns. Problems for the Invicta of Martin Utmer and John Lawson's Alfa Romeo had thrust Lee Mundy's Chrysler into the lead, the older cars feeling the pinch as the kilometres rolled on. Hobart's Rest Point Casino marked the finish line. Of the 209 competitors who began the epic 6 days before, 176 had completed the journey. The Denny Hulme Award is given each year to a team that overcomes adversity to successfully complete TARGA Tasmania. In 1999, Queenslanders John Taylor and Brian McGovern in a Ford Mustang were bestowed with the honour. Gearbox, electrical and overheating problems had beset the car since leaving Queensland. The Mustang had made the finish, fuelled largely by willpower. Platinum Targa trophies are awarded to competitors who have completed no less than 6 Targas in succession. In '99, only 4 would join the exclusive Platinum Club. Ken Gover and Peter Harbison driving a 1953 Lancia, plus 2 of Targa's most popular faces, Bob Edwards and Glenn Ridge in the distinctive black Alfa Romeo. Lee Mundy and Guy Dunstan emerged victorious in the Shannon's historic competition, the durability of the Chrysler winning the day.
Yes, there's a lot of luck and there's a lot of people go to make it happen, and the other fellows just had bad luck. I'll just happen to be there at the end.
The pristine Invicta S-Type, crewed by Martin Utber and Nick Langford, second, ahead of John Felder and John Shortland in the Oakland 8. Ian Roberts and Peter Cameron had achieved their goals, the Jaguar finishing 4th.
Unbelievable. I just can't believe it, you know, having caught on fire last Saturday, blowout tyres, 2 blowout tyres on day 1, and just kept going, and we're here.
The 28 Chev of Wes and Diane Wilkinson 5th, mechanical problems relegating John Lawson's Alfa Romeo flag car to 6th. The classic competition was decided by less than 1 minute. Robert White and Angus MacLeod getting the Sunbeam Tiger across the line ahead of the Mini of Henry and Rosalind Draper. Paul and Christine Freestone taking their Austin Healey to a well-deserved 3rd. Warwick Fremantle and Nick Watchorn's gallant chase had fallen just short, the Nissan only 48 seconds off the lead. The drive of the event going to Paul Stokell and Peter Roberts. A brilliant performance had put the tiny Lotus Elise into the top 3.
Yeah, we've had a ball. I mean, I've been learning a lot over the last 3 days, and it's all been new to me, this navigating bit, and Peter Roberts has called it perfectly, and just wrapped, absolutely wrapped.
4th, Gary Scott and Richard Frankie's RX-7. Guy Beddington and Peter Svensson 5th in the Ultima Coupe. The winners in the modern competition, Peter Fitzgerald and Michael Mansour. The pair had overcome the hurdles to achieve the win they so desperately pursued. Their names to be added to an illustrious list of winners.
It started the week with the car being a car that set the pace, with myself not used to it and with Mike that's never run. And over the week it's developed into the 3 of us working together, and today it showed, I think.
3 and ongoing. Bye.
TARGA Tasmania had once again outstripped expectations. For those that triumphed, a time to soak in the achievement. For the rest, 12 months to plan their assault on TARGA 2000. 12 months to live on the memories of the ultimate tarmac rally.